Hey guys, Real 111T. Just wanted to do a little video here, talk a little bit about a little situation that's been going on across the country for the last couple weeks. You may or may not be aware of it. A couple weeks ago, maybe a week and a half ago, I noticed on some of the Facebook lantern forums there was some chatter about some people having some interesting experiences buying Coleman fuel at Walmart. Okay, and I looked into it a little bit more, and it seems what people were encountering, first of all, is at several stores there was none, which is strange for this time of year, not exactly peak camping time. Okay, the other thing was where they did find it, even where they didn't find it, it was marked for deep clearance. I believe in the 760 something, 764 is what one of my stores had it for, and there were also reports of $5. Now, if you know the history, basically the Coleman fuel has gone up and up and up incrementally. When oil prices were going up, it would go up. Okay, and it would. For a long time, it was in the $6 and $7 range. Then it went up to the $8 or $9 range, and then it's been pretty stable at about $12.50. I think is about what they were selling it for a gallon. So it'd be very strange for them to mark down a non-perishable item that far, and it was actually marked clearance, which was enough to cause people some alarm. Okay, because basically what it looked like was Walmart is discontinuing the gallon cans, okay, in favor of just the quart bottles, which, you know, if you ever looked at the pricing for a quart was about $8, okay, and then the pricing for the gallon was $12, so, you know, for $4 more, you got 4 times as much, right? So, that pricing never really made sense to people who used it a lot. Most people who bought Coleman fuel maybe didn't use a whole gallon at a time, okay, or wouldn't go through a whole gallon in a season maybe. So, in addition, you know, Walmart's been selling Coleman fuel burning appliances for a long time. You know, the lanterns and the stoves they've been selling. So you'd think that they would have some kind of a feeling of obligation to keep carrying and supporting the products that they'd sold. Okay, however, it all depends on how you look at it. Selling it by the quart is still supporting the product, even if all of a sudden it's gotten a lot more expensive. You know, the cheapness and compactness of Coleman fuel compared to, say, propane was one of its selling points. Okay, and if you take that away, you just get a lot of fiddliness, basically. So basically I looked at my stores. I found a couple gallons at one, and the thing about it was they were brand new cans, you know, looked like really new production. So I bought a couple, and then they were sold out basically. I didn't buy them out, but I checked back a couple days later and they were in fact sold out. So I contacted Coleman. I sent an email to their customer service, and I got a response back about a day later by, you know, a mid to low level customer service representative, and basically I was told, well, they had no knowledge of Walmart not selling their product anymore, and if in fact Walmart was not selling their product, it would be available at other retailers, which is comforting on some level, but not on other levels. You know, the other retailers in my area would sell that same gallon of Coleman fuel that you could get at Walmart for $12.50 or so. They would sell it for, you know, $17, $18. So that is still a price increase. It's not quite as bad as if you're buying the quarts at Walmart. Plus, you'd have to make a separate trip to this other store if you, you know, normally you could just pick stuff up when you were at Walmart. So, you know, I've thought for years that maybe the Coleman fueled appliances were kind of going by the wayside, that the propane was kind of taking over. People want simplicity and ease of operation, you know, And propane is something, those little 1 pound cans for people that are car camping. It's good enough. Okay. And the appliances are cheaper. And the fuel is easier to use. There's no, complicated mechanism, basically. Just basically regulator valves and burners is all they are. Okay, so, you know, people who collect Coleman lanterns and people who collect camp stoves tend to be power users, sort of Coleman fuel. In some places of the world, in the UK, Coleman fuel is very expensive. Okay, and a lot of people over there improvise, rather than paying a steep amount. So one of the things that I thought was that I should start looking into this product, Varnish Makers and Painters Naphtha. I've heard of people using this. This is probably the most similar thing you're going to find in the stripper aisle to Coleman fuel. Okay, and people have used this and it works. I still plan on testing it. The trouble with this is, in my area, the only place I could find it was Home Depot, and this is about $8 a quart. So why would I use this? Realistically, it's sort of academic to make sure that I could use this. Why would I use this if I could just buy the Coleman fuel for $8 a quart at Walmart? But the theory is, if this works, somewhere you can find it by the gallon. Okay, and if you find it by the gallon, it will probably be cheaper than $37. Okay, so the only thing about this that is a complicating factor is Coleman fuel contains a rust inhibitor. Most of the Coleman appliances have steel tanks, so I think that has something to do with it. Most of the Swedish stoves that run white gas have brass tanks or aluminum tanks, so it's not as much of a concern, I think, with those ones. But if it's got a steel tank, the rust inhibitor, and the high temperatures, it might be, I'm sure they don't just put it in there for no reason. So let me say that. All right, so just today, I went down to my local store, doing some shopping, and I thought I'd swing by the sporting goods section to take a look. And sure enough, they've rearranged everything in that section. And I thought, well, that's it then. They had the quarts of kerosene, they had the quarts of Coleman fuel, and they had something else. They had gallons of Crown Camp fuel, okay, which is basically a comparable product. I was very happy to see it. Basically, then what it looks like is that they are just basically changing vendors. So Crown Camp fuel, I'm very comfortable with that, and they had these for the same price that they had the Coleman fuel, $7.64. Now, this is where I'm going to start speculating. So if you don't like speculation, you might want to turn the video off now. I speculate that $7.64 price is not the price they're going to settle on for the Crown Camp fuel. If it is, fantastic. But I don't think that's what it is. I think what they're going to be doing is readjusting that price. When the pricing catches up, once they realize that they've flushed all the Coleman fuel out of their inventory and that they've basically got the Crown Camp fuel in all their stores, I think this price will adjust back up. And I'm not sure why they would have changed. Who knows why Walmart does what it does. Maybe Crown gave them a better deal. As far as I know, Crown doesn't make any devices the way Coleman does. And the Coleman fuel was going up. If you noticed, when oil prices went up, Coleman fuel would go up. When oil prices went down, Coleman fuel would stay the same. So there was no sort of up and down on that price as the oil went up and down. So maybe, the price for this camp fuel with the current oil market is just out of whack with reality, and Crown gave them a better deal. Who knows? Coleman has a lot of different sides to it in terms of manufacturing gear, importing gear, branding gear, and I don't know what their business model has got to be a lot bigger and more complicated than Crown. Okay. The only time I've ever heard of Crown is as a manufacturer of camp fuel. So, I'm anxious to give this stuff a try. I've used Crown camp fuel in the past, almost as a novelty. So, and I don't recall any problems with it. It's basically a comparable product to Coleman fuel. Smells a little bit different. But yeah, that's basically where we are right now. I'm still going to do the test with the naphtha. I'm going to run that through some of my camp stoves to make sure that works right, and that'll be sort of a fallback. Um, and then yeah, so my advice, I guess, is, while that price is still at $7.64 or $5 or whatever it is in your area, my advice is you should pick some up if you use it. The other thing is, if Walmart is working on weeding out their Coleman offerings in sporting goods, you notice over the years, a couple years ago they got rid of whatever the Peak One backpacking stove they were carrying, and they replaced it with the Primus Classic Trail. And when they did that, they replaced all the Coleman butane with the Primus Power Gas. And you notice that a lot of the little sundry items, they have started bringing in the Ultimate Survival Technologies little sundry items, and they've been kind of forcing out the Coleman little sundry items. So maybe that's where they're moving. Maybe some of these other vendors are giving them better options, in volume. It's a big deal for some of these companies to get into Walmart. So, maybe Coleman was resting on their laurels, and these other companies are coming in and giving a cheaper price to, in quantity to Walmart. So maybe that's why it's happening. But for the time being, we can still get cheap camp fuel. And hopefully, if the prices do go up, they're not going to go up more than, say, $10 a gallon. That would be ideal, I think. And then if they just kept carrying it, basically. The other thing to look at, if they're weaning out the Coleman items, is they might weed out some of the Coleman fuel burning appliances. You might see clearance on the 424 dual burners and the dual fuel lanterns. And I don't even know if they make the 533 anymore, but that was something that you could buy at Walmart. In any event, just be on the lookout for that. You might be able to get a decent deal if they put some of those on, clearance. So anytime that, a company like Walmart is willing to take a loss on an item that is good, I say be there with your money in hand, because they're just trying to liquidate their inventory and get everything kind of on a consistent playing field across their stores. If they're willing to just sell the stuff at a loss or at very little profit, I say grab it then. So, yeah, just wanted to bring you guys up to speed on that. Thanks for watching.